This is the Retirement Bullpen with Richard Warner. The team at Warner Financial Solutions want to help you feel confident about your retirement, no matter where you stand. Get more at warnerfinancialsolutions.com. Now, the Retirement Bullpen.
There's a proposal in Washington, D.C. to cap Social Security benefits at $50,000 a year for individuals. And it's starting to raise questions about fairness, about sustainability of Social Security, and the future of the program as a whole. Well, today we're going to dig into what this proposal means, who it would impact, and talk about Social Security in general. And I'm here with our host, Richard Warner. Richard is an investment advisor representative, certified retirement income professional, and owner of Warner Financial Solutions. You can learn more at warnerfinancialsolutions.com. So, Richard, I was just reading about this proposal, and people that are advocating for it talk about how capping it at $50,000 a year for individuals would keep Social Security going for another 7 years. Well, that doesn't really solve the problem, but it's an interesting proposal. Wanted to get your thoughts sort of on that and Social Security and where it's standing as a whole.
There's definitely some issues with Social Security. From a statistical standpoint, I don't think Social Security is going to run out anytime soon. What will happen if nothing is changed is adjustments to benefits, if that makes sense. So for example, Social Security, I believe it's going to, statistically now, I think it's been a year or two maybe since I've run this number, but if they left everything alone and kept doing what they're doing and all the numbers played out, averages like they will have and projected forward based on those averages, in I believe 2034, Social Security would potentially have to take a 25% cut across the board on everyone. And then the system could keep going indefinitely. Now, the problem is it's going to be hard to sell from the government standpoint to the average citizen, a 25% cut. I mean, there's a good chunk of our country that live off their Social Security checks and that's it. So if they're getting, if they've got $3,000, a married couple coming into their house, or $4,000, whatever it might be, and 25% of that's gone, that's a big cut to their financial situation. Now, at the same time, Social Security was never meant to be a do-it-all for your retirement. A lot of people have taken that approach. Sure. They haven't saved any on the side, and that's all they have is their Social Security. So some of those people are in their situation because of their own choices. But at the same time, they're in those situations at this point, and there's nothing they can do about it. So this proposal, adding additional 7 years, I'm going to assume that 7 years is basically to as it is now. Sure. I think that could benefit some people. And from my experience, I don't think that cap affects a large number of people, but there's another side to that. So there's the side of those of you that don't hit the cap. Obviously, it's beneficial to you, but those of you that have paid into the system, you've paid a lot of taxes throughout your life. That's known as a FICA tax to get that benefit. And then if you can't reap the full reward of it, is that fair to those people? It's not like they're getting some benefit from the government. They're getting a paycheck from money they have paid in and supposed to create this payment for them based on those numbers. So there are two sides of the coin. It was never designed to necessarily be a welfare program, if you will. To some people, it has become that. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and sometimes I don't know if some misinformation is true or false. It's really, really hard subject to actually get bottom line truth on. A lot of the people we run into aren't maxing out their Social Security check. They get a really good payment, but they've been maybe a middle of the road, maybe higher end of middle of the road income earner throughout their lives. So they get a reasonably good Social Security check, but they're not near the point of maxing it out. And so this wouldn't impact them, but they've also saved on the side. So they're going to be fine either way. Where this fight really comes is going to be between those on the bottom end that haven't saved and haven't made a good income throughout their life, or maybe they do have a pretty good payment, but that's their only savings has been into the Social Security system. And then those on the top end who have probably saved really, really well and have paid a lot into the system as well. Do those on the top end really need it? Probably not, but technically it's their money. So it's not an easy conversation to have in regards to fairness, because fairness is if you put something in, you should get something out.
Well, and to your point, just to put some numbers behind it, that $50,000 cap annually is really only about 2% of beneficiaries. Now, they sort of project that amount could grow if you start factoring in cost of living adjustments and higher lifetime earnings among future retirees. But to your point, that's not the vast majority of people. In fact, the average retired worker gets about $1,975 per month, which is only about $23,000 and change per year. So that's not affecting the mass majority of individuals. So exactly to your point, you're talking the 2% is now having to be responsible for the 98%. And is that fair? Because yes, we're seeing more and more the gap increase between the haves and the have-nots. And, they talk all the time about how the middle class is going away and we just have an upper class and a lower class. But to your point, if you've been taxed and you've been paying the money in, that's your money. It isn't meant to be somebody else's.
That's exactly right. And it's a tough conversation. I've done a lot of Social Security workshops over the years, and I've argued many times that this is tough to fix because it's political suicide for senators,
Anybody.
congressmen, president. Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, anytime whatever side you're on brings up any kind of strategy or plan, the other side is going to poke holes into it and make you look like you're robbing Social Security. And both sides do it to each other. The reality is both sides have made decisions over the years that have screwed up Social Security.
Right.
But there's also a lot of fraud. There's a lot of people taking from Social Security that shouldn't be taking from Social Security. There's just a lot of scenarios out there that need to change. But the problem is so much of this has been allowed over the years that you're creating a bigger problem if all of a sudden you start taking it away from people that maybe shouldn't be getting Social Security, but they are for whatever reason.
It feels a lot like trying to, plug the holes in a colander, that you drain your spaghetti in.
Yeah.
It's like you plug one, but there are a whole bunch more. Even if you use both hands, you can't possibly plug all the holes and there's a leak somewhere. And so in a lot of ways, I understand why it's been the kick the can down the road mentality, because to your point, anybody trying to tackle it is going to get, chewed up and spit out by the other side, because those advocating for, if you're making all that money, you don't need it, so give it to those that don't. Well, certainly you're not going to make friends with anybody, to back your campaign on that end. But on the flip side, it's hard to justify letting people have a 25% cut in their benefits if that's the only income that they have in retirement, when you're talking that inflation and cost of living is growing at, 3.8% on average. So there are two very polarizing ends of the conversation. How are you preparing your clients for the unknown? Because this is, again, just a proposal, nothing set in stone. People are throwing out ideas and solutions to what is an inevitable problem right now. What should those nearing retirement, 5 years out, right on the cusp of it, be thinking about and planning accordingly to make sure that they're going to be okay regardless of what the proposals are?
So I think individuals and couples who are on the doorstep within 5 years, I don't know that they really have anything to worry about. I can't say that for sure. This is opinion. I think Social Security is probably going to be a lot like it is now for them. Now you fast forward to people in my age group, people in your age group, people younger, it could become bigger and bigger and bigger problem. I would say if you're a business owner today, you're building your business, planning at some point for retirement. If you're an employee saving for retirement, I encourage people in my age and younger, you should plan for retirement assuming you're not going to have Social Security. And if you get it, it's
a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it's icing on the cake. If you plan for it to not have it, you'll be just fine. If you plan to have it and you have to have it, you could be in trouble. Because at some point, and there's a lot of reasons for it, a lot of it has to do with longevity is some of our issues. So people are living dramatically longer. Let me give you an example. A lot of people don't think about this. When Social Security began, there was, I believe, 4 workers, if I remember this correctly, 4 workers for every 1 benefit receiver. So somebody retired receiving benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the numbers have completely flipped the opposite direction. But on top of that, people would retire 65 at that point, and a lot of times were gone by 70, passed away. Today, people are retiring 62, 65, sometimes waiting until 70. Either way, they're here till 85 or 90 or 95. The average person is living dramatically longer today than they were when Social Security was built. So it was really hard for the individuals who built the system to imagine that life expectancy would change by 15 plus years and what that would do to the system. It also is impacted by, the amount of workers and the amount of people on Social Security versus actually working in the workforce. That baby boomer generation that went on Social Security, that's a lot of people. A lot of people. And so those numbers cause issues. But the reality is, if you're my age or younger, if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your early 50s, those of us in our 50s, we probably are going to have some version of Social Security. As you get a little younger than that, I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what happens with the numbers. The life expectancy, some people think, could skew the other direction because of eating habits and health and that sort of thing. We'll see if that ultimately happens or not. But again, not wishing that on people to save the Social Security system, obviously.
Sure.
But there's so many factors that go into it. You need to take responsibility for yourself, bottom line. You need to be responsible for yourself, and you need to take care of yourself. There's so much in this world anymore of who's going to take care of me, who's going to do this for me, who's going to do that for me. You need to do that for you. You need to be responsible for you. You need to take care of your situation. If you do that, you'll be just fine.
Stop looking to be rescued.
Yeah, exactly.
When you are talking with people that are nearing retirement, are you finding that more retirees are wanting to claim Social Security early because they see that Social Security may be in trouble and they go, well, I want to get as many years of my full amount as possible? Or are people going, I'm going to wait until later to try to maximize and hope that 8% makes up the difference? Is there a trend that you're seeing one way or the other?
I would say not really. I've seen it both. People can be extreme on both. I've seen people that want to take it early that it absolutely does not make sense to take it early because they're going to get penalized for taking it early and they're going to actually lose some of their paycheck. It's just not a mathematically smart decision to make. They don't even plan on retiring. They just want to take it because they want to start getting something, even though they're going to give most of it back to the government because of they're taking it early and they're going to get taxed on it or fined on it. And then I see people on the other end that it makes no sense to push it off to 70 because they're going to get more out of their money and their retirement if they take it early. So it really boils down to your situation. Some people, it makes a ton of sense to take it early, and some people it doesn't. But don't let fear drive it, because when I do see people taking it early, I will say it is typically out of fear. They're afraid they are not going to get anything out of it, or they're not going to get as much. And they paid into it all these years and they want to get something out of it. And fear is driving their decision. Sometimes that fear makes sense because of their situation, but sometimes it makes absolutely no sense at all. But as far as a trend, I can't say that I see one way or another. Maybe leaning a little bit more to the fear side just because you hear more and more about it and it feels like nothing's getting done. Which I think is a fair point because, again, going back to what I said earlier, I still believe it's political suicide to fix the problem. I don't think most people are going to like the solution at this point.
Well, because there are really only two ways to deal with it. You're either going to increase people's taxes tremendously to cover the gap, and we're already, at some point got a, $39 trillion debt that we also have to pay for, or there's going to be a substantial cut in what gets paid out, and you're going to have people being very frustrated that they spent all of this money, years and years and years of their, working years with the government taking it and mismanaging it. So there really is not a clear, easy way out of the mess that we've created. But to your point, it comes down to planning for yourself and making sure you're taken care of. And that starts with having a plan, and numbers don't lie. So sitting down with someone such as yourself, looking at the numbers can give somebody a lot of clarity.
That's exactly right. If you're a business owner, what's your business going to be valued at someday that you can turn it into a retirement plan? If you're not a business owner, what are you saving into your 401k, your retirement plan? If you have a pension, what are you saving on the side so that you can step away from your work at some point and take that savings along with your Social Security if you have it? But again, if you're young enough, you might want to plan not to have it. And what is that number you need to generate the income you need so that you can live the same lifestyle or maybe a better one when you retire? And if you don't create that plan, if you don't start taking steps, you're not going to get there.
And I think we gave the analogy in the last one. We prepare for storms coming through. We prepare, up north where I grew up, you prepared for winter. You winterized your car. You did certain things knowing that it was inevitable. You were going to get a snowstorm. You're going to, have severe weather come through if you live in Tornado Alley. So you have to know that retirement is an inevitability. You're going to need to have income during that. And planning for it has to be something that's done proactively.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
Well, if you have questions about how this particular proposal or any changes to Social Security could impact your retirement, you can schedule a complimentary call with Richard today by visiting WarnerFinancialSolutions.com. Again, that website is WarnerFinancialSolutions.com. Sit down, have a conversation, ask the questions that pertain to you and your individual situation. And of course, we'd love it if you subscribe wherever you're currently listening so that you never miss a future episode. Thanks so much for joining us, and come back again soon.
Insurance products are offered to the insurance business Warner Financial. Warner Financial is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Warner Financial are not subject to investment advisor requirements. NPN number 7617022. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be considered as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Warner Financial is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Warner Financial.